What's up, everyone? We back at the Black Cars Only garage. Just kidding. We got a white one right here. All right, chill out, chill out. This is actually my old R35. I bought this from one of the insurance auctions. It's the first car I've ever bought from the insurance auction, so it's kind of like I was a little bit skeptical, but you know, like there wasn't too much I could do. The car was in Atlanta, so I wasn't gonna go fly to look at it. It was 20 grand. Like I wasn't stressing too much. I was well, the problem was I'm looking for a shell, but like there's not too many R35s out there that aren't running, you know. So I either do like I did with the GR, buy one that's already running and driving and completely dismantle it. I mean, these are going average 60 grand, maybe 50. You find one that's like not in good condition. I didn't want to wreck one from the auction, so yeah, this one popped up. It had no engine in it, and I was like, all right, maybe that's better, no engine. Later on, I actually figured out that this car won Texas 2K in the GTR 4 class, I believe it was, from Stacy Barnett, and I believe it ran like a 721 quarter mile. Through a bunch of, I don't remember how I figured that out. I think I like Googled the VIN, and I like was seeing other pictures, and this car had like a carbon fiber front end on it, but it didn't have it on it when I received the vehicle. So yeah, I'll actually pull up a picture. There's this picture. Here's the car in 2021 with Stacy Barnett tagged from T1 Race Development. We'll actually go in here and you can see the conversation.
I think I just bought your old car.
The auction photos of when I received the bumpers hanging off. Then these are the pictures when I Googled it that popped up under the same VIN. I'm like, what is going on? Like, the car doesn't look like it. It's like, there's no way. But it was at a different auction before. And then I did some more digging, and I actually found some videos of the car. The car used to make 2,200 horsepower plus on methanol. So no matter what we're doing, it's going to be a downgrade. I don't have the budget, and there's no way we're tapping that. This car just has some history. It's pretty cool. It'll be interesting to do something different with it. Sucks that we're not going to live up to its legacy, but you know, it's going to live on. We'll kind of lift it up and let you guys see what's going on. All right, we got the thing lifted up. We got a mystery swap going on. Some of you guys might be able to guess what's going on here. Some of you guys might already know, but you'll have to stay tuned. In a later video, we'll release which engine is going into this, because it's not a VR38. And you can see with this diff right here, this is not a normal R35 diff, and there's something missing right here. So this is actually a 370Z complete subframe. Believe it or not, it actually directly bolts into an R35. There's no aftermarket mounting points modified. There are 2 points missing that normally the R35 subframe would go to, because it has a lot of front weight, because the transmission is normally right here in this area and then connects to the factory differential. This car has all GK Tech arms, 370Z subframe, diff, axles, everything. The only thing that's been changed is the arms, and on an R35, the arms are pretty similar, but on a 370, everything is like a little bit shorter. So if you can look at the wheel fitment, it's a little bit off. Maybe we can get some shots of it on the ground, but there's about an inch difference side to side from when it had a factory subframe on here before we dropped that out and put in the 370Z stuff. We'll actually be doing a second channel of the owner of this vehicle. Like I said, it used to be mine, and then I sold it to a buddy of mine, Josh. We can put his Instagram down below. It's Out of Love. And Ruiner Shop is his 2 Instagrams, because he also does LED strobe lights as well as another business. And we'll actually probably be installing those on one of our vehicles later on in the summer. But let's go back to 370Z and why there's a rear-wheel drive diff in here. All right, as you can see, some don't look right. Why is there 3 pedals in an R35? What is this? What is this? What R35 does that? Huh? Something going on. Why is there a 326 power steering wheel I don't have yet? Why is that in here?
That I don't have yet.
Now that we've kind of give you a brief idea of what's going on with this car, you'll have to stay tuned, subscribe, and wait for the video actually to drop of more progress on this car. For now, let's move on to the RC and see what I got.
Yeah, you better close that hood before they see what's going on under there, man.
So this morning we had some stop by our friends at Joe's Racing, had some more lines made for both of our cars actually, not just the RC but the S13 as well. Got some of the coolant lines done up. My forgetful ass forgot to bring this fitting with this morning, so wasn't able to make this line. I was just using this for mock-up at one point. So we got this upper radiator hose and the lower one that's coming out of the oil cooler here. To try to button up the lines in the front of the vehicle. So I just got this one line left in the front, and then we'll have to start next with the lines in the rear of the vehicle. So same thing, we got these lines are going into a hard pipe, coming out at the rear, and then we go to a soft line again. And we also got a rear mounted electric water pump in the back. Same with Nick's car, it's going to be very similar. The 2 cars, he has the same oil cooler heat exchanger down here. You'll see that here in a second when we go see how Nick's car is doing. For now, we're going to lift this up and check out what's going on underneath. Now that we get the vehicle lifted up, you can see this is the bottom hose. Going to have to do some kind of mounting of this somewhere, probably over here to the lower of this scavenge line on the dry sump. The line continues on, connects to our hard lines right here. So these 2 right here, these are coolant lines. They're going all the way to the back, and they're gonna have 2 lines. One of them is gonna return to the top of the radiator, and the other is coming from the electric water pump. So you have the other line out of the radiator is the bottom hose. It feeds the water pump. The water pump pushes water towards the front of the vehicle, and it's going to go forward through the top hose of the engine, throughout the engine, and then come back to the radiator. The other 2 lines here in the middle, these are fuel lines, and then these 2 large lines are the feed and suction lines from the dry sump tank, which is mounted right here. So to do an oil change on here, this is your drain plug. Kind of weird. But yeah, so when you go to change your oil, you pop this out, drain the oil out of there, and you can actually take the belt off the dry sump here. You can actually take this off by hand. It's super weird. But then there's a nut on the front of the dry sump, and you actually spin this, and this will actually pump the rest of the oil out of the system and back into the tank to make sure you get as much oil as you can out of the tank and replace with fresh oil. And then same thing to put it back on. It just goes on by hand. It's super crazy. I don't really like that it doesn't have a belt guard.
That's weird,
but
dude.
yeah, so this is how it goes on, and you do nothing else. That it just naturally will center itself on there, and you can see there's not very much tension on there because it's a cog belt, so it doesn't need too much. It's not going to slip. But you know, I think it was James Dean last year, kind of cost him a championship. He had a piece of rubber fly up from his front tire, went into the dry sump belt, ripped the belt off, lost oil pressure, had oil pressure safety on his motor to save his motor, but it shut the car down, and it basically lost the battle, and that cost him championship points, which sucks. So one downside of a dry sump, but much worse can happen if you get a wet sump. Whole oil pump can explode as well. That is way less likely to happen with the dry sump. Also, since yesterday, we have the gearbox back in the car. I pulled the gearbox back out because I didn't have the clutch and everything in here yet, because I needed to install the release bearing. It's got a little pedestal. So actually on the Samson's transmission, most of the setups, I think there's certain setups you can run like a traditional fork and exterior clutch slave cylinder, but with the clutch that we're running, we're choosing to run an internally slave cylinder, and the Samsonite has this pedestal that bolts on here, and then the release bearing will mount on here as well. And then this comes out. This is what's pushing your clutch in right here and releasing. But it's not as simple as just bolting it on you know, like you would hope. So if you're in your garage trying to do this, it's probably not going to work out too good. These are kind of like cut to fit. So you need to figure out your distance between this release bearing and your clutch. This is a pretty tall pedestal. You're going to have to shave this down because it's not just going to, oh, you just go, oh, I got this clutch and this setup, and no, it's not that easy. Nothing when you're doing custom transmission like this, or even just changing your traditional transmission, a CD09 or something, into internal slave. You're gonna have to set your air gap for your clutch. That way your clutch isn't dragging, or it's just way too tall and not even letting you put the transmission on, because that's basically where we're at with here. You try to bolt the transmission on with this thing this tall, it's too much. You have to cut it down. And then let's just go over to here. Let me see if I can get this through the side. So if you look here, you can kind of see that the release bearing is touching the clutch, but there's a huge gap between the orange part and the little step lip there. So that is my air gap. I could stick a pry bar up there right now and push that all the way against that orange seal, and there would be a pretty good amount of air gap. And you can also see the end of the pedestal has been shaved down, and it's about an inch or so shorter. But like I said, if you want to see more of how to do this, I think I'm going to do a separate video on how to install one of these Samsonite transmissions in your car, because the process is pretty similar on other gearboxes. Like I said, you can do this on set the air gap on like a T56 or a R154, whatever you're converting to internal slave, or even if your car already came with the internal slave and you're just changing the release bearing to a shimmable style aftermarket bearing that comes with your clutch. All right, so also last night when Jess wasn't here, sorry I didn't film this, but like I said, we can put this in another video. I've also made a custom shift linkage. When you do kind of a universal transmission like this Samsonite in a car, you're gonna have to make a custom shift linkage, because basically you can put the shifter wherever you want with this setup, and they give you this rod that it's gonna cut the fit, and then you weld it. This one's actually so short because I have the motor so far back in this chassis that I didn't even use any of this rod. I just welded the two threaded bungs that normally you'd weld on the ends. I just butt welded them together, and it's super short. And I also got a strain sensor in here. What the strain sensor does is actually tell the ECU when you're making a shift, whether it's a downshift, upshift, and you can actually utilize it to do clutchless shifts with this transmission, because you can't just, oh, it's straight cut gears with dog rings and you can just shift without the clutch. Like, no, you gotta have the sensor in there. So like, the ECU knows when you make a gear change, and it'll actually, the tuner's gonna have to set this up, but you actually retard the timing. And that's how, like, some of the people you'll see, they'll shoot flames or whatever else, but you don't need to do all that. It doesn't need to be that aggressive. It just needs to kind of slow the rotation down on the engine to allow for the shift, because you don't want to just bang it at 8,000 RPM, just force it into gear as you're still on the accelerator. But as you'll see in Nick's car, you'll see we'll actually have to put a good distance between the transmission and his shifter, because his shifter in that chassis is actually back further. All right, so let's see some of the stuff that we did on Nick's car since yesterday. I went ahead and welded some brackets on the heat exchanger like I was mentioning on my car. He's got the same CNR heat exchanger, coolant cooled, or in this case water, because you can't really run coolant at the track. These are your water lines. These are oil in and out, doesn't really matter what direction. Again, crimp hose from Joe's Racing, fittings and line are from BMRS. Let's see what Nick's doing back here.
See what this guy's up to.
Hey, man. Hey,
oh, hold on. Hey.
Hey, man, can you just make sure you get me, like, actually doing something?
Like,
I'm not just a pretty face, you know?
Just make you look like you're doing something?
Yeah,
or?
like, I know I can order pizza like
Yeah,
nobody else, but hey, man!
Shit. Got your ass.
Yo, yo.
Hey, man,
Hey,
let me get
finger
a
never left record, sucker. All right, what do we got going on over here, boss man?
On today's episode, Channel 7, 5 o'clock news, we are building what some will call a wall.
You need to leave.
But this ain't that kind of wall. This is a firewall. So this is Jeff's and I, mostly his genius idea to separate myself from possible flames that may arise during fun having. And so basically just building a firewall between myself and whatever's happening back here, all those goodies.
Party in the back.
I got the fuel cell right here, you know what I'm saying? Got the radiator, alternator about here. Water pump, in the future, power steering thing will be right here.
Yeah.
And then all of the bulkheads for the power steering and the water line are all gonna come through this panel along with the wiring. I kind of want to keep everything nice and tidy, nice and clean. And so bulkheads to the pump, and then some of the lines are gonna go. There's a cooler. Actually, this guy right here. Hey man, don't look at my toolbox. Don't judge me, all right? You worry about yourself. But yeah, this little power steering cooler, hopefully give us a little something, keep her nice and cool. Have some lines running through that, back into the pump, and then through the front and out. And then same thing with the water lines. We're running our water lines on the inside. I just don't want to do stuff on the outside. I don't like it. And then same thing, bulkhead fittings. Gonna go to the radiator. I'm gonna go to the pump, radiator, out of the radiator, back into the bulkhead, and then back to the front.
I see you got the hatch on. You got the hatch, huh?
You know what
How's
I'm
it
saying? Hey
fitting?
man, don't judge me. These are self-tappers. You know what I'm saying? This is just for now. For now, I'm waiting for my titanium hardware to show up. Cause you know he does titanium stuff. You know, I don't know, just got a little pizzazz on it. You know, but
Also,
yeah, this is his. I'm borrowing it.
Waiting on a care package from Radium, so stay tuned. We're gonna put boxes of goodies.
Yeah, we got to mount up a whole bunch of stuff in here.
Low-key, I've been looking for that thing he's holding on.
Yeah.
I don't know where that was.
Hey man, keep it to yourself. So yeah, basically what I'm gonna do, this is down. I have about less than ½ an inch all the way around. I'll basically have to mark the polycarbonate and then carve out a section so that way our radiator's got enough, you know, enough flow of fresh US made ball eagle air. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and then after that, since there is a little gap here, I'm gonna make some fill panels in here. I'm gonna do it all right, you know. Pay attention, David.
This is custom made. Beeline Automotive over here. Look.
But hey, just so you have an understanding, go over there real quick. I'm gonna show you a little something. So when we cut off the back of the car, this is where the taillights are. This is where the back bumper sits. There ain't no car back here. Yeah, 14/16 exactly. About 8/4.
This is how much of the car you can afford, and this is how much we're missing right here.
This is the budget. It's not in the budget, you know. So we only got the trunk, and then we'll just glue the taillights on.
Some people have a bumper budget. Like some people don't even have a bumper. Bead-roll panel in there.
Yeah, we had a friend nearby.
Bead roller, so.
We don't got a bead roller, so we have a friend with a bead roller.
Or a steady hand to pull off a procedure like that.
Yeah, exactly. But roll the bead in there so it's nice and sturdy. I mean, it's still got some movement, but it'd be all right. What's crazy is that the whole carbon hatch weighs as much as the polycarbonate window. It literally doubled. But the polycarbonate, I mean, it's like 5 mil.
Yeah.
5 or 8 mil or something like that I ordered. It's about 4/8 of 2/8 of what it would have been if it was like 3 mil. But no, I like the little bit thicker, you know. Actually, I would like for it to sit a little bit higher because by the time you put the polycarbonate on the outside, and I think it actually has to sit a little bit higher, about yay tall.
Yeah.
So it'll like line up with the polycarbonate quarters.
With that.
Yeah, and then we got carbon fiber. You know what I'm saying? Big old monkey bar back here. Carbon.
Oh.
Boy, y'all don't know.
They don't.
Y'all gotta wait.
They don't.
Y'all gotta wait. But yeah, and so with that, you know, we don't have a SD card big enough for my mouse, so we'll catch y'all later. Stay tuned. Hit like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz that everybody be saying. Hey, do that. Come on, help your boy out.